This is the south side of the garage. This is the electric meter. This box should have been sealed on 3 sides to help prevent moisture infiltration into the wall system. The grounding rod, we have a single ground. Today's standards, we'd have 2 grounds. I cannot ascertain that there is 2 grounds. These rods are 8 feet long and they're supposed to be buried 8 feet. So not 7 foot 6 inches. Now, an electrician could put an ohm meter on there and get enough resistance, and that might satisfy the code inspector. That's what happened at my house. But without those special testing and those special provisions, and without the hearing from the code inspector himself, all I know is that ground rod wasn't buried like it's supposed to be. It's not rare at all. It's actually quite common. That doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right at all. Speaking of quite common, there's this terminology called bundling. And when you look at my report, I'm going to have an illustration about bundling. It's almost apologetic, and I hate apologizing for my work. When you see all these cables coming in here like this is the electric service panel. We're inside the garage south interior wall now. You see these cables coming in here like that? That's called bundling. You're not supposed to have 2 cables coming through these little holes like this. These big holes, that's for L1 and L2. We don't know where it's going to be. So here we go. So those are for L1 and L2, and these little ones are for all these little cables. But that's, by the time you get that fixed, I mean, that's at my house. My house isn't for sale. You shouldn't have to live like me. But, to get that done right, I'm not telling my client never to seek perfection. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm just saying the cost-benefit analysis. I mean, when you sell the house and go, ooh, that house doesn't have bundling. And I just don't know, where to go with that. But it's wrong. It's wrong. So you can take that information and process it as you choose. Now, this is wrong for sure. That's called an open knockout, and or twist out. Sometimes they call them twist outs. And you're supposed to have a protective clamp on that. Now, there's another open knockout. You're supposed to have a protective clamp. Can the wires rub against the edge of that? They sure can. They sure can. They can rub on the edge of that. What else we got? Okay, L1 and L2 coming in. There should be rubber boots on this. That's a relatively new requirement, by the way. So there's that. If you're in this cabinet and you don't know those are hot, you don't belong in this cabinet. All right? But it's a safety device, so I'm compelled to report it as a deficiency because it's a safety device, and I feel like my client should be made aware of that. All right, this is the main neutral coming into the house. If you don't know that's the main neutral, you don't belong in this cabinet. But this main neutral is supposed to be wrapped with white tape so that any fool who doesn't belong in this cabinet could still see that and know that that's the neutral for whatever reason. I don't make the rules up. I'm a parrot or a mockingbird, so cables should not be touching the cabinet cover. All right. Then it's okay to have double lug grounds. We have some, but it's not okay to have double lug neutrals. We have some of those too. Not supposed to have double lug neutrals. It's okay for double lug grounds, not okay for double lug neutrals. So we got some double lug neutrals. Then we got some hots coming in here. What is that? The AC, 50 amps. Let's look at some notes here. Let's put some notes here. Okay, 50 amps, right? 50 amps. Oh, well, the manufacturer says the condensing unit is only supposed to have 45 amps. The condensing unit is overfused. The condensing unit is overfused. What happened was they replaced the condensing unit with a more efficient unit and didn't require as much power, and they didn't change the breaker. You don't have to change the wires. You can downsize the breaker. All they had to do is just, put the right size breaker in there, and they didn't. They didn't do that. What else we got going on in here? Oh, I don't know. We got GE breakers, Eaton breakers, really? GE breakers, Eaton breakers. What else is this? There's some other brands in here. My eyes can't see. I'm so. We'll find out. But you're not supposed to mix brand breakers. You're not supposed to mix Eaton with GE. Okay, the manufacturer says don't do that. If I find another one, 2's enough though. 2's enough. Mixed breakers. Mixed breakers inside of here. Now, the real crime is the paint. Look at all that paint. That paint's all over these wires. That paint's on the bus bar behind these breakers, and there's no paint on the breakers. Look, you look behind there, there's paint behind there. So there's paint on all these contacts. This box was ruined. Now, obviously it's been working for 30 years or what? Obviously it has been. The manufacturer wouldn't stand behind it the day it was installed. I don't make that up either. It's not good. You know, I'm not the standard of living, you know. I'm a hypocrite about a lot of these things, by the way. But I'd have, personally, in my own home, I would have some problem. I would have problems with paint on the bus bar for my breakers, my service panels. I just would. It's always going to be an issue. Something's always going to be going wrong. Hopefully it's just an annoyance. The bonding location, the electrical bonding location is not labeled inside of here. And then we're coming on along here, and then these are not supposed to be hand labeled. These are not supposed to be hand labeled. They're supposed to be printed. That's printing. That's writing. And they're not supposed to be. And if we come along here, you see this nice, okay, see this bank of breakers? And then we have a gap. And the bank continues. This is a continuous bank. You see here we've got two continuous openings. That's because right here on this panel is an opening that you can stick your finger in there, right in there, and get yourself, you know, some of that painted bus bar in there and grab yourself a nice dose of electricity. So it's supposed to be a dead front. That's supposed to be a little knockout protector right there. So what do we learn? The grounding rod's not properly labeled, buried. Take for whatever that's worth. We learned that the meter isn't sealed. Again, you know. But we also learned that the inside of the cabinet is painted. We learned that we've got bundling. We learned that we got open knockouts. We learned that we do not have protective covers. We learned that we do not have black tape on this white hot. We learned that we do not have white tape on this neutral. We learned that our neutrals are double lugged. And did I mention the paint? I can't mention it enough. We've got open knockouts. The bonding location is not labeled. Bonding location is not labeled, and so we'll probably find it. And if I do, I'll let you know where I found it. But it's supposed to be labeled there, so any person can find that. And then the breaker should not have been hand labeled. Also, on a lot of manufacturers, and this might not be one, but on a lot of manufacturers, they want duplicity. They want labeling on the panel door and on the panel, but I don't see a register, so that's not going to make the report. That was not going to make the report. That paint is going to make the report. Open knockouts, unprotected conductors coming in, that's going to make the report. All right, double lug neutrals, white hots, those are all going to make the report.